Hi everybody, welcome to the dungeon. My name is Robin and today is Flameworking 102.25. Today I wanted to get out of the round and make a lucky eye pendant. These are a lot of fun if you've been looking to get off the mandrel and make different shapes. This might be a good place to start. I hope so. I also wanted to share with you how I make the iris cane because I wanted to practice that as well. And with that said, I hope you're all doing safe and well out there. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time in the dungeon. All right, I'm going to start this out by showing you how I make the cane that I put around the iris on the eye to get kind of a fun effect there. And it's really simple. I just gather up a really nice big wad of clear and I'm just going to roll it out a little bit in my marble mold. And then on top of that, what I want to do is add 4 stripes with the white, and I am using a stringer. It's a 2 to 3 millimeter rod, and I'm just adding them in 4 equal spaces. You can get thinner with this. You can add more stripes if you want. Either way, I want to heat the end up and just kind of pull a little bit off so the ends are nice and even. And then on one end, I'm going to add a punty. And then I'll just take the other end off, give it some nice heat there. And then I will also take this little bit off. It's so much easier when you do this extra step when you're making cane. Sometimes it just really helps the flow of everything. And on the end of that, we're going to add the other punty, which is slightly smaller than the other one. I do prefer a slightly larger punty, but this is just what I have right now. So I'm going to heat everything up, and as I'm heating this up, there is a point where things get really soft all the way through, and I'm going to start to twist in the flame. And then I'll come out of the flame once I kind of have a twist established, and this is just when the glass is really getting hot. And then I will come out and slowly start twisting and pulling the glass. Now, the clear holds the heat beautifully, so hopefully this will work out for you and you can get some fun cane to use for your iris. Okay, so we're going to get the pendant started, and what I'm going to do first, if you've seen my pendants before, I'm not really good at making hooks, so instead I'll go ahead and just make a small bead on a mandrel. I put it on the closest to the edge of the mandrel, because when I'm finished making this, I'm going to put it in my annealer really close to the door, and I'll be able to use that later. I don't want the handle to get too hot. Okay, so now to begin, I'm going to add a little bit of white glass to the end of a 1/4 of an inch mandrel. And it's a kind of a heavier mandrel. I like the weight of it, and it will hold this really well while I work on it. So I'm just going to start out by adding some glass there and getting a nice amount of glass on the end of that rod. I don't want this glass to get pushed up into the punty area when I flatten it out, so I'm really only heating the front half of this bit of glass. So once I flatten it a little bit, I'll further flatten it out with my butter knife, again making sure it's not pushed over the punty, and then I'll heat it and come out and then just finish that shape up with my mini mashers, just getting it nice and round. And I'll just roll it out a little bit on the edge there. I'm just looking for the thickness here, and then I'll flatten it down one more time, again just heating up the front of the disc. Okay, so now to make the sides of this eye, I'm gonna look for the line. I need to know where I'm gonna start and end. I'm gonna go up and down. I'm sorry about the view, but I am going up and down with my white glass, building up a little bit of glass into a point, like a little pyramid, a little triangle of glass there. And then I'm gonna heat that up real nice, hold it down for a second, and then lift back up and just press gently with the mini mashers, and you can see the beginning of the corner. Now what I'm going to do is just kind of gently ease into the corner area by rocking it on the graphite pad, and then again flattening it down, and now we have 1/2 of the eye. So again, I'm sorry about the camera angle, but I am just going from the top side of where I think the eye is going to extend out to the bottom, and then up and down a few times, kind of lifting up and building up that glass until I get like a little triangle of glass there. Then I'll flatten it, heat it again. You don't want to lose any heat here. Working hotter can really be helpful, but it does take time to get there. So just do your best to maintain, making the shape you're looking for. So again, I'm just going to flatten those ends out. And here is where I can spend a really long time just getting into a shape that makes me happy. And, so my process is heating one side of the eye and just working that curve exactly how I want it to be. And just kind of making sure that the ends are, nice and pointed. All right, now that I have that done, I want to put the iris on, and I have a nice topaz color, and I'm just going to get a small amount hot and apply a nice dot to the top center of the white. You could put it anywhere that you want to. It would give it some movement. And but I thought it would be fun to make it hazel, so I wanted to add a little bit of this dark kind of grassy green. And so I'm just going to apply that. It doesn't have to be in the center. But now I really want to take my time and gently flatten it down. I want to make sure that I don't flatten it down completely smooth. I want to make sure that I leave a slight shelf around the circle here. And that's where I'm going to add this cane. So the iris cane, I'm going to just start out by applying it, making sure it sticks, and then just with the edge of my flame, I'm going to very gently get it to stick right around that little bit of color. I do overlap here, and I should have taken it off, a little extra off, but I didn't. So it didn't come out perfectly round, but we'll get there. But first, I want to heat kind of the center area of it and get that cane nice and warm, and I'll start to flatten it out. You can see it's not perfectly round in the center. And we're going to add the pupil at the very end, so it will cover up this center part. But first, I want to just get it flat. And then what I'll do is take a warm rod, get the bit hot, and then I will pull out a string from the very center, and that will pull that cane towards the middle. And when we go to press it out, you'll see that it's a little bit more centered here. All right. Okay, so I like the way that's looking. Let's go ahead and move on and add the eyeliner part. So I have a black glass here, and I'm going to start from one edge and kind of work that glass all the way down one side of the eye. We're going to just do one side at a time. And once I have it all the way down there, it doesn't have to cover it perfectly because we're going to cover it with the tools. So I'm going to just start heating up that bit of color and very gently rocking it on a tool, a graphite pad. A knife works great. I love the butter knife, but I get a little bit more pressure when I can rock it on top of the graphite pad. And then I can kind of finish things off by, using the knife and that will help me to kind of pull the backside in if I need that. And now that looks good. I like it. We're just trying to get like a line on top and on bottom of the eye. So now we'll go ahead and add black to the other side. And don't worry if it doesn't perfectly touch, you can add a little extra where you need to. And then I'll go ahead and just start working those little corners in. That's going to be the most important part here, is just maintaining that same eye shape from the very beginning. And now I'm just working that bit of color in on the bottom, making sure that I cover all the edge. And then just kind of pushing where I need to, just to, get back into my, just to maintain my shape, basically. Okay, now once that's done and I like what I'm seeing, we'll go ahead and add some of our twisty cane. And this is the twisty cane that I made in the last video. I wanted to use it for something, so I'm going to go ahead and outline the top half of the eye with it. And then with my butter knife, just make sure it's placed on there. It's not going to pop off. And then I thought what would be fun is just kind of pull this over the iris a little bit. So I thought I would heat and just kind of rock it towards the eye, just kind of covering up that black line again. All right, now I'll go ahead and add a little bit to the bottom half. Of course, when adding, if you're going to make these, you can add these wherever you want. You can get really creative. It doesn't have to be a black and white line. I just thought these were a lot of fun and kind of look like eyelashes in a way. So anything works. I used a lot of scrap cane for this and they all worked out great. So once we have that bottom half established and heated in nice and you want to make sure it's not going to pop off. So melt it in about halfway. Now we can go ahead and start adding a little bit more color. So I am using a sky blue here and I'm just going to follow that black right behind the twisty there. And then I'll heat that part up. And every time I'm working in the flame and out of the flame or doing a different step, I am making sure that the punty part of this glass is nice and warm. I don't want this to pop off in the middle of me working on it. So do make sure that you continuously flash that punty and make it happy. All right, so now that we have kind of formed that bit of glass on top of the black, we'll do that on the same or on the opposite side. And if it doesn't meet, again, if the colors don't meet, there's other ways that you can fix it. I'll show you here in a second. But first I want to just flatten that down a little bit. And now here what I want to do is just pinch the corner and pull it out a little bit. And then I will just nip it off as it cools, and that can also help to bring those two sides together. And then I'll just finish by doing a little bit of shaping there, or you could add a little extra glass like I'm doing on this side, and the same thing, heat that corner up a little bit and just flatten it out with your knife. All right, now we're just about done here. I like the way this is looking. And so now I want to add a little bit of extra fun cane to this. And this is just, I don't even know what this is. I just grabbed it from my cane bin. And so I'm going to apply it to the top. It broke a little bit, so I do my best to just kind of continue to pull it down to the corner of the eye. All right, and like I said before, you can leave this raised up, you can flatten it, you can add more canes, different colors, whatever you want to do for your lucky eye pendant. But for me, I'm just going to start to flatten this down again to kind of cover a little bit more of that blue and just get it to where I like it. Now, once I'm finished with my final shape here and all of my colors, I'm going to go ahead and put on the iris, the pupil. So I'm going to get a little bit of glass, a little black glass hot, and I'm just going to apply a little dot to the center of the iris and then pull out a little bit more. So I want it very small, and you can add a little bit more if you need to. It's just easier to add more than to pull away sometimes. So now I'm going to just start to very gently flatten this out. I don't want to flatten it too much all at once because you might need to shift that dot around if you're off center. All right, and that is the finished pendant. Now all I want to do is punty this up and take my main punty off. And so I'm going to use that same bit of black glass, and I rounded the tip up to like a pencil point. And I'm going to make sure the eye or the pupil is kind of red hot while the punty is slightly warm. And that will make a connection that will be able to break off evenly later on. And once you have that, then you can go ahead and just start heating the back up. It took me a few seconds to pull that glass off, and I have to say I apologize for not really having a nice backside on this pendant. I don't know, I just didn't I didn't even think about it. So anyway, in a perfect world, I'd have that nice and clean. All right, so now at this point, I want to go ahead and grab my little hook bead from out of the oven and get it nice and hot, and then dip it in water so the other end of the mandrel isn't hot. Then I'll go ahead and heat it and apply it to the eye. Make sure it's on center, and then just gently tap that black punty off. If it doesn't come off, then hopefully you can just break it off or pop it off real quick. And then I'll give it a final heat. Press that pupil down one more time and put it away. I hope you all enjoyed this lucky eye pendant. I really enjoyed making these. They're a lot of fun, and I hope to see you all next time in the dungeon.